Takuto suffers from a deadly illness. Because of it, he never had any friends, and now even his family has abandoned him. No one ever comes to visit him in the hospital, so he spends all his time playing a game. One day, due to his illness, he dies. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself sitting on a stone throne in the middle of a forest. He is still trying to understand what is going on when a girl emerges from the forest and calls him her king. Her name is Atu, his favorite character from the game. Seeing her in real life makes him incredibly happy, but he does not know how to react. Atu, on the other hand, knows she was part of a game, and she also knows who Takuto is, a legendary player who held the #1 position for years. She remembers all the adventures they went on together. Both of them are happy that they have finally met. Takuto asks if she summoned him here, but Atu says no. She tells him she also suddenly appeared in this forest. She thinks this world feels like the game Eternal Nations, but they cannot be sure. There's only one way to find out. She asks if he wants to build a nation together again, just like before. Takuto loves the idea and agrees to work with her. They begin repeating the game sequence, but when they face each other directly, it feels a little awkward. First, they need to figure out where they actually are. Takuto uses magic to summon a scout. When he sees it up close, he finds it extremely ugly. Unfortunately, there is nothing he can do about that. Their civilization is going to be the most evil and dangerous one. But at the start, they do not want too much attention. They want to avoid conflict for as long as possible, so this bug will be useful. He orders it to stay in one place and scout the area. At first, the bug does not move at all, so Atu reminds it that Takuto is its commander. Immediately, it rushes off. Takuto realizes that, just like in the game, he can share vision with the bug, but doing so drains half of his mana. Now he only has 100 MP left. If he wants to build a base, it'll cost him 20 MP. However, before building a base, Takuto wants to create a warrior who can fight for them. Atu tries to reassure him, saying she will protect him if they get into trouble. Then she corrects herself and admits that she wishes she could say that. Takuto agrees with her. She is a hero unit, so she will grow stronger over time, but right now her level is only 3. Meanwhile, the bug continues scouting but has not found a single monster yet. That means this place is perfect for hiding. Still, it feels strange. They should have seen at least some animals or monsters by now. The problem is that if there are no animals, they will have to spend mana for food. Atu apologizes, saying she is not very useful right now. Takuto tells her there is no need to apologize. Just having her with him is more than enough. Hearing that makes Atu very happy. Suddenly, the scout finds something interesting. In the middle of the forest, it spots a dark elf settlement. It is not far from Takuto's location. Takuto thinks it is a good thing that they are dark elves, since they are not completely against evil, and probably will not oppose the Managra Kingdom. Still, he believes this could become a problem. He cannot allow another civilization to exist so close to his own, especially when he wants to stay hidden and avoid war for as long as possible. Atu suggests that they move their civilization elsewhere. Takuto agrees, since they have not built anything here yet. Before leaving, however, he wants to observe the Dark Elves. Just then, Atu senses someone nearby. They see a group of Dark Elves approaching them from the forest. The elves are just as surprised to see them, since they did not know anyone else lived in this forest. The Dark Elves came here because they were driven out of their hometown. Due to the long journey, many women and children fell ill. A small group went into the forest to search for food. A girl named Amal is terrified because she has heard rumors that an ancient evil is sealed in this forest. The leader dismisses the rumors, saying that if an ancient evil truly existed here, the trees would not be growing so well. But the moment he sees Takuto, he is overwhelmed with fear. What stands before him feels like pure evil. He wants to run away, but he knows that making a wrong move could endanger the lives of his people. Trembling, he approaches Takuto's throne and kneels before him. He introduces himself as Gia, the head warrior of the Mazaro mass, and apologizes for entering the forest without permission. Takuto acknowledges that at least Gia understands his position and asks why they are in the forest without permission. Gia explains that his people once lived in the Central Plains. They were a peaceful tribe, but Atu cuts him off and asks him to summarize. Gia says they were driven out of their land and attacked without reason. They could not even take food with them and have not eaten for days. Takuto suddenly throws several apples toward them. He tells them the food is for them and asks if they have ever eaten apples before. Gia hesitates, asking if he is allowed to eat them, especially when his people behind him are starving. When he sees everyone already eating and enjoying the food, he realizes how delicious it is. Takuto continues giving them more fruits, which shocks Atu. Atto gets angry when she sees that Gia is not eating to the fruit given by her king. Gia explains that there are many people in his clan, including small children, who have not eaten in days. He cannot eat unless they do. Hearing this, Takuto gives them even more fruits and vegetables, telling them it is all theirs. Even Atto is surprised by this generosity. Gia wonders who Takuto really is, but Takuto does not answer. Back at the Dark Elf camp, everyone is in terrible condition until they return with food. After eating, they are so happy that they start crying. A girl asks Gia where the food came from, but he does not tell the truth and says they found it in the forest. After eating, everyone falls asleep, except Gia. The village elder Maltor approaches him and praises him for his actions. He says that in all his long life, he has never eaten such delicious fruit. Maltor notices that Gia looks troubled and asks what is wrong. Gia tells him that he met a legendary being in the forest, one that they have only read about in books. A being said to be sealed in the accursed land. Maltor asks if he is talking about the King of Runes. According to old stories, when the world is about to end, the King of Runes will appear and destroy it to start anew. Maltor asks if Gia spoke to him. Gia says the king was beyond their understanding, but there was a girl with him who spoke on his behalf. Maltor becomes uneasy. He is sure that being was no angel, and wonders if Gia might have sacrificed his soul in exchange for the food. Gia explains that the King of Runes asked for nothing in return. This feels strange to Maltor, because evil beings never give anything for free. Gia believes the king acted out of pity, and refers to him as Isgress, a title used only for the highest respect. This shocks Maltor. Gia says there is nothing wrong with showing respect to someone who saved their people. Maltor questions whether Gia is really defending the King of Runes and asks if he has been hypnotized. Gia reminds him that they are alive and able to argue only because that being gave them food. Given their situation, trusting the King of Runes was inevitable. Maltor realizes he cannot judge Gia. As the tribe's elder, he decides that he will handle negotiations from now on. Having lived for many years, he believes he can understand the king better. Meanwhile, Atto scolds Takuto for wasting mana without thinking. Takuto explains that he felt bad for them and did not want their children to die of hunger. Atto understands, but reminds him that they have not even set up their kingdom yet, so they cannot waste resources like this. Takuto apologizes and promises to be more careful. Then he admits another problem. When the elves arrived, he was so nervous that he could not speak properly. Atto is surprised and says she thought he was role-playing as a king. It turns out Takuto is actually an introvert. Soon after, the bug returns and reports that the elves are coming back again. Takuto is shocked and assumes they are returning to take leftover food. He hopes they leave quickly, because conflict between their civilization and his is inevitable. He could simply tell them to leave, but this time he would have to talk to someone other than Atto, and he is not sure if he can handle that. Seeing this, Atto says she can handle the negotiations in Takuto's place. That way, everyone will think Takuto is a mysterious and evil king, not just an introverted nobody. A short while later, the two of them arrive at the meeting spot. Maltor introduces himself first, thanks them for giving food to his tribe, and asks the name of the one who helped them. Atto tells him that he is standing before Takutora, the King of Runes. The moment they hear this, they can hardly believe it. Realizing that Takuto truly is the legendary King of Runes only makes them even more frightened. Maltor once again thanks him for his mercy. Takuto feels relieved seeing that everything is going smoothly with the elves. Then Atto tells them to take their food and leave the forest. Hearing this shocks both Maltor and Gia. They had assumed that receiving help from the King of Runes would come at a terrible cost. They ask Atto if they really can leave without giving anything in return. Atto replies that they do not possess anything valuable enough to offer anyway. Maltor feels uneasy. He fears that if they fail to repay this kindness, they might be forced to give up their souls in the end. Of course, he does not say that part out loud. Instead, he calls Takuto over, and Atto casually remarks that these people are being a nuisance. She says it would be easier to just kill them all and be done with it. Takuto does not agree. He wants to build a mutually beneficial relationship. He understands that they are terrified of accepting anything for free from someone like the King of Runes. He suggests that to calm them down, they should ask for something reasonable in return. Atto likes the idea, and when she explains it to the elves, they finally feel a bit more at ease. Now the question is, what should they ask for? Atto suggests gathering information about the outside world. In exchange for the food, the elves must tell Takuto everything they know about the world beyond the forest. Once they are done, they and their people must leave the forest. This means all the elves would become homeless again. Malter desperately asks them to allow the tribe to stay. Atu firmly refuses. She warns them that if they value their lives, they must never tell anyone about Takuto. Gia tries to speak up, knowing his people will not survive if they leave the forest, but Maltor stops him. They cannot afford to anger the King of Runes. As the elves begin to leave, Takuto starts to doubt himself. Is this really the right thing to do? If they leave, they could be killed at any time. Suddenly, he speaks up and tells them to become his citizens instead. The elves are confused and ask what he is trying to do. Takuto explains that he is considering using a refugee strategy. Dark elves are neutral by nature, and if they join his civilization, they might turn evil just like in the game. However, Minogra's main citizens are homunculi, who look bizarre and are impossible to communicate with properly. Atu adds that her king wants to build a civilization, and if they become citizens of his kingdom, he will protect them. The elves ask what they will gain by joining his civilization. Atu tells them that once they join Minogra, the world will see them as evil. Whether they accept that or not is entirely their choice. But if they do join, things will get very interesting. Sometime later, Takuto and Atao are seen heading toward the Dark Elf camp. The elves have decided to join Takuto's nation. As he approaches, everyone kneels and clears a path for him. He walks toward a throne they built for him. Anyone who gets too close to his evil aura immediately faints, while others look at him with excitement. Gia warns everyone not to look directly at Takuto, or he might mistake it for hostility. Takuto does not really care. He announces that everyone present here is now a citizen of Minogra. With that, the speech ends. Gia feels confused. Takuto had said they would become evil, so he expected more to happen. Suddenly, Gia begins to feel something inside him. Hatred starts to grow. Memories of everything that was done to him and his people replay in his mind. The same thing happens to every member of the Dark Elf tribe. When those memories finally fade, they feel relieved. Now they have someone like Takuto to protect them. A few days pass in the kingdom of Minogra, but things are not going well for Takuto. This continent already has two major nations. The first is the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, a human nation that worships the holy god Arlos. The second is the Nelvas' nation, the Elna Alliance of Elementals, who worship nature itself. If these dominant nations discover his evil kingdom, it will be the end for him. They do not have enough military power to fight such nations. Thinking about all this, both Takuto and Ato start worrying like children. Then Takuto realizes that not everything is bad. Normally, Minogra's citizens are homunculi with empty heads, but now that they have dark elves, they might actually be useful for research. Soon, Gia brings Amal before Takuto and explains that she is highly intelligent and knowledgeable about legends and other nations. Atao decides to give all three of them important positions in Minogra's administration. Maltor is assigned to manage state affairs. Gia remains Minogra's head warrior, responsible for commanding the forces and recruiting new soldiers. Hearing this, Gia becomes extremely happy and vows to kill anyone who stands in Takuto's way. This makes Takuto nervous, and Atu quickly reminds him that the king prefers peace. They should not start unnecessary conflicts. Gia cannot believe that the King of Runes follows such peaceful ideals. Atao tells them to relax because they will soon begin building homes for the people. She notices that all three of them are eager to start working immediately, and Takuto agrees. However, he insists that the houses be built in a way that causes minimal damage to the forest. Malter says this is only possible if they use hollow trees as homes. Takuto is delighted by the idea and tells them to begin whenever they want, but also reminds them not to forget reforestation. Unfortunately, none of the three understands what reforestation means. They admit that, based on what they know, magic technology in this world has only reached the level of fortress construction. Atao asks if they do not know about military magic or the 6 major elements. Maltor replies that he only knows about 4 magical elements, and none of them has ever heard of military magic. Maltor realizes that their magical technology is far behind what their king expected. Atao tells him that once they advance it, they will surpass the other nations. She then explains that reforestation means planting a new tree wherever one is cut down. Maltor argues that it would take hundreds of years for trees to grow back. Atao explains that reforestation technology uses the major elements to accelerate growth. She says that all this wisdom belongs to King Takuto. One elf asks if the apples the king gave them were also created by him. Atao confirms that they were all his creations and mentions that he especially likes grapes. Amal says she really liked the purple fruits. She planted their seeds and they have already started growing. Takuto realizes that the fruits he created came from another world. That means by using emergency production, he can create things that do not even exist in this game. To confirm this, he creates a coin. That means he can produce gunpowder, base metals, and even oil. He thinks to himself that he could become the Saudi Arabia and America of this world. But to do that, he will need a massive amount of mana. Once that happens, the entire world will be under his rule. Meanwhile, the Holy Nation learns about the presence of an evil force. A holy saint and a bishop head out with several knights to investigate. The knights have heard stories that saints possess incredible powers, but so far she looks like a normal girl. That changes when goblins attack them. The saint unleashes her power and incinerates all the goblins in a single strike with holy flames. The knights are left stunned. The bishop explains that because of the saint's abilities, they have maintained good relations with the elves and kept all evil away from their kingdom. That is why she is one of the 7 great saints of the Solalina continent. After that, Solalina asks the bishop who he sent to investigate the presence she sensed in the accursed land. The bishop replies that he cannot send paladins there. That land lies within the Dark Continent, and the Central Church would never approve of sending forces there. Hearing this, Solalina says she will go herself. The bishop gives in and says he will send his own soldiers instead. Meanwhile, Atu tells all the elves that they can begin construction. By now they have expanded Takuto's throne even more and added a roof above it, so he no longer has to sleep out in the open. Soon after, the kingdom's administrators arrive, since today is their domestic affairs meeting. They have also finished designing new clothes for Takuto. After putting them on, Takuto feels incredibly happy. He has been wearing hospital clothes for so long that this feels amazing. The outfit looks so stylish that it almost feels like he is trying to compete with movie stars. They're about to start the meeting, but everyone notices that Takuto is way too excited and busy enjoying everything. Atao decides she will begin the meeting, and when the king is ready, he can join them. Maltor asks Atao what kind of buildings they should construct first, since apart from the throne room, they have built almost nothing. They have only done basic work like leveling the ground. Atao says their top priority should be food production facilities, because keeping everyone fed is the most important thing. Gia asks why that is necessary when Takuto can just create food for them. Atao explains that they cannot rely on him forever. What will they do when he is not around? She then shows them something strange and tells them it is a flesh tree. Just looking at it makes everyone nervous, but her explanation terrifies them even more. This tree grows a special kind of meat that looks like human flesh. The elves immediately say that most of them would not want to eat something that resembles human meat. Takuto agrees with them. Everyone has different preferences, so they will make other options as well. The next topic of the meeting is research. Their nation is still very small, and if they want to progress quickly, they need new technology. Atu explains that they will work on military technology. Normal magic allows a person to attack around a dozen enemies at once, which Maltor can already do. Military magic, however, can strike thousands of enemies at the same time. It can even alter the terrain to gain an advantage in war. Hearing this excites Maltor, and he says he will personally handle this research. The final topic is military planning. Gia says he will immediately begin training an army. Takuto stops him. A military contributes very little to a developing nation and only consumes resources. Even if they form an army, their numbers will be too small to defeat anyone. Gia argues that without an army, how will they protect themselves? On top of that, both Gia and Maltor have bounties on their heads as dark leaders. Takuto understands the situation, but he still does not want to spend resources on building an army. Instead, he says they will invest everything into creating a single hero. Atu agrees with him. Even though summoning a hero costs more upfront, feeding and maintaining one person is far easier than sustaining an entire army. So this confuses the others, and they ask Atao what she means by a hero. She explains that Minogra has special heroes who serve the king. They are incredibly powerful and possess extraordinary abilities, but they are also a bit eccentric, which makes dealing with them difficult at times. To summon a hero, many conditions must be met. However, given their current progress, they should be able to summon one soon. Compared to raising an army, summoning a hero is not that big of a deal. This way, their kingdom can remain hidden. With that, all the meeting topics come to an end. The happiness of Minogra's people is extremely important to Takuto, because the happier they are, the more mana he receives. Elsewhere, in a vampire domain, a junior paladin named Lornius is praying when High Paladin Vertus approaches him to talk. Vertus notices a wedding ring on Lornius's finger, meaning he has a family waiting for him at home. He asks about them, and Lornius replies that he has a wife named Marsh and a daughter named Mina. He does not want to discuss his personal life any further. Lornius has heard rumors that Verdus is rude, and from what he has seen, the rumors are not wrong. Still, he does not seem like a bad person. Verdus complains that their mission feels pointless, but Lornius reminds him that it is related to a strange revelation. Verdus then asks why. If the mission is so important, they are stuck with nobodies. Their entire team consists of only 2 paladins, while the rest are mercenaries. Back in Minogra, construction is progressing rapidly. The place is finally starting to look like a proper nation. The Dark Elves are no longer afraid of the flesh trees. Takuto is thrilled, because seeing everything with his own eyes instead of on a screen feels completely different. Amel tells him that this area will become the residential zone. Because she has been focusing so much on food production, she has not been able to work on housing yet. However, the flesh trees are growing well, so storehouses will be completed soon. Maltor is busy with his magical research and has even established a magic research institute. Nearby, they have discovered a spring, so water will not be an issue. The building they are currently in will serve as a public office where Minogra's meetings will be held. Takuto is happy seeing all this progress. When he first met these elves, they were on the brink of death, but now they look truly happy. Amel, however, feels uncertain because she cannot tell what Takuto is thinking. Takuto reassures her, saying she has done an excellent job and that he is glad to have citizens like her. Hearing this, Amel becomes so happy that she starts crying. She then shows him the flesh tree farm. Thanks to the tools Takuto gave them, farming is progressing at an incredible speed. Still, Amel gets scared when she hears the flesh trees talking. After that, she takes him to show him the water source. But compared to before, the place now looks completely different, and the water has turned pitch black. Maltor and Gia arrive as well, since Amel wanted to build an aqueduct here. Now it seems impossible. Atto steps in and says the water is completely safe. To prove it, she drinks it herself. Seeing this shocks both of them. Atto tells them to take a deep breath, and when they do, they start feeling better than before. Atto explains that these are some of the benefits of Minogra being an evil nation. The surrounding land becomes corrupted. Evil creatures gain minor buffs, while good or neutral creatures suffer penalties. The water, air, and environment may look terrifying, but for their citizens, it is actually beneficial. There's only one problem. If everything looks corrupted, they will not be able to stay hidden for long. Malter suggests that they should start focusing on building an army. Atu tells him not to worry. A single hero will be more than enough to protect their nation. They're still confused. What can one hero possibly do? Atu decides to show them. Tendrils burst out from behind her and destroy all the trees behind her in an instant. Everyone is left stunned. Atu tells them that she herself is also a hero. Since she has been here for a while, her power has started to return, though she is still not as strong as she was at her peak. Loosened. The most important thing is that heroes continue to grow stronger over time. As long as they do not face an overwhelming disaster, there will be no problem in advancing their nation. Takuto was actually angry at Atto as well, because there was no need to destroy those trees just to show off her power. Meanwhile, seeing all this, the others became even more impressed with Takuto and started insisting on building a palace for him. Takuto immediately rejected the idea, saying a palace would just be a waste of resources and that he did not need something like that. But the three of them kept insisting, saying that it was extremely important for him to have a castle. Otherwise, they would feel terrible. Hearing this, Takuto finally gave in. Besides, he was planning to build a floating castle in the future anyway, and since everything was running smoothly right now, it made sense to start preparing early. What they did not know was that danger was already slowly moving toward Minogra, and once it arrived, it would bring serious trouble with it. On the way, Lornius tells Verdal that most of the barbarians have moved north. Apparently, barbarians suddenly appeared in the northern province of the Holy Kingdoms of Golaya, which is why a saint and her army were sent there. Even so, they are still struggling to keep the barbarians under control. After hearing this, one of the mercenaries says that is exactly why they did not go there. He had heard rumors that there was a witch in the north. At night, they stop at a place to rest. Lornius asks Bargo about this witch. Bargo says he has heard that everything happening in the north is because of a witch. Lornius does not believe it, but Bargo adds the 2 holy knights were also sent to investigate, which makes it sound suspicious. Verdal tells him that it is nothing like that. The Dark Elves had fled into this forest, and that is what they are investigating. Verdal then says that even if they find something dangerous, they will just retreat. Lornius does not like that answer. He believes that if they encounter something evil, they should risk their lives to destroy it. Verdal advises him not to chase glory. There will definitely be times when they must risk their lives, but those decisions should be made carefully. They all have families who need them, and that alone is a good enough reason to live. No. On the other side, Takuto gathers all the elves together. Using the flesh tree, he recreates the same creature once again. The elves are left completely shocked, because Takuto had just created new life with his power. Atu says that this is only a small glimpse of her master's true power, and that they should dedicate their lives to serving him. After that, Takuto returns to his throne room. He's relieved that no one asked too many questions, and he is also happy knowing that to create units, all he needs to do is gather materials and pour mana into them. If he can do that, then summoning heroes should also be possible. However, that would require an enormous amount of mana and resources. Atu asks him which hero he wants to summon first. Takuto replies that he wants to summon Isla, the Queen of Bugs. She can greatly strengthen their insect units and can also create larva units, which would give them even more workers. On top of that, Isla performs exceptionally well in both war and domestic affairs. Besides her, they really cannot summon anyone else. The other heroes all have terrible personalities. Some want to conquer the entire world, while others want to completely destroy it. Meanwhile, a hill giant appears in front of the Holy Knights in Marsh. Lornius starts preparing everyone for battle, but Verdal stops him and says he will fight it alone. They do not have much time, so he uses Qualia's secret technique. By channeling the power of prayers into his sword, he can use divine power, which greatly enhances his physical abilities. Because of this, the strength of a high holy knight is said to rival that of a lesser dragon. With a powerful strike, Verdal attacks the giant and defeats it. Back in Manogra, Takuto is eating a burger while Atu scolds him, telling him that he should eat something healthier. Takuto replies that he spent all his time in the hospital eating only healthy food, so he is completely sick of it. At the same time, using a large number of surveillance bugs, Takuto is able to observe the area around the forest. He wants to discuss something important with the others. Right next to the forest, there is a town that does not belong to Qualia. Ato tells him that it is likely a neutral nation, and they need to be extremely careful with their next move, because that town will probably be the first to discover Manogra's existence. Takuto laughs it off and says not to worry, no one would find out about them that quickly. Ato immediately warns him not to say things like that, because whenever someone does, everything goes wrong. Takuto insists that nothing like that will happen, but at that exact moment, he spots the Holy Knights in Marsh. He tells Ato to calmly drive them away if possible. Ato immediately understands what he means. She then goes out to meet them. Verdal asks who she is and what she is doing in the accursed land. Ato replies that she is a dark elf who fled into this forest to save her life. She then asks them what they are doing here. Verdal says he has business in the forest. Atu tells him that they should not proceed any further. Lornius is about to say something, but Verdal stops him, telling him that children should not speak when adults are talking. Lornius gets angry, but he holds himself back. Verdal says that they have a mission to complete and cannot leave without finishing it. Ato explains that her people have suffered greatly, and that after everything they have been through, they have finally found a place where they can live in peace. Verdal then reveals that they are here because of a holy revelation. According to it, there is a massive calamity hidden within this forest. Hearing this shocks everyone. Lornius says that he will report this immediately, because holy revelations are national secrets, and revealing them without permission is a grave sin. Verdal does not care at all. He asks Atu to let them enter the forest for investigation. She refuses once again, saying that there is no calamity in the forest and that they should leave. However, Lornius can sense evil energy coming from her, and he asks if there truly is no calamity here. Atu firmly denies it again. Verdal then asks what the chances are that this so-called calamity could attack them or their people. Atu replies that there is absolutely no chance of that happening. Verdal then asks her to swear it on her god. Atu smiles and says that she swears it on her god. Verdal chooses to trust her and tells everyone that they are leaving. Their investigation concludes that there is nothing problematic in the forest. Lornius tries to stop him, but Verdal ignores him completely. At that point, Lornius takes command of the mission and orders the mercenaries to capture Atu. She gently tries to reason with them, but no one listens. The next thing Lornius knows, he regains consciousness, covered in blood. He is still alive, but all the mercenaries have been slaughtered. Verdal shouts that someone needs to retreat and report everything that happened.